Okay, well, I guess we'll get started. Thanks to everybody for signing in and joining us today. Lead generation is something I think is a very interesting topic. Clearly more leads mean more sales, and that's good for everybody. So we're looking forward to sharing a few ideas and strategies on how you can use OpenField to drive some lead generations. A couple comments today. Questions are welcome. Please go ahead and enter them in the chat box in GoToWebinar. We'll also pause near the end of the webinar for some Q&A. And just a note, we are recording today, so following the presentation you'll be sent copies and links for your review and for going back and double checking anything. I wanted to start today by maybe considering a few things about contact lists in marketing platforms or in email marketing circles. Stats show that your list can turn over as much as 30% per year. Turnover or churn, basically as contacts become inactive or unsubscribe or opt out of your messages, we're looking for strategies to grow and replace your list, in spite of that. So part of that is keeping your current contacts interested by providing new and relevant content, and part of it is using that same sort of content to attract new people, into your database. The content is key, because if you provide interesting content that people want to be able to, it's related to your business and people want to be able to receive, they're more likely to give you accurate sign-up information, things like names and serial numbers and place of business, in order to get the content that you're looking for. So this is not, so providing content and using the lead generation tools we have is not just a way to add to your list, but it's a way of improving the quality of your list as well. I wanted to go on and talk a little bit about contact lifecycle and how the process works. So typically you would use your marketing materials, your trade show activities, your website, and you would entice contacts to find and visit your website. In that process, you can give them a strategic presentation of a form or an opportunity to sign up for more information from your company. This is normally considered the contact acquisition phase. From there, let's consider a trade show example, to start with. If you come away from a trade show with a list of business cards and you need to enter them into your system, this can be the contact acquisition phase. From there, you rely on the marketing tools you have available to nurture them through the process. Most salespeople would lose interest very quickly in a lead if it doesn't generate, an instant opportunity. So proper onboarding, proper welcome messages, message sequences, these are all things that can nurture your clients along to move them nicely to that third phase, which is the super engagement or the hyper engagement phase, where they're interacting with your company and your salespeople against the prospect of turning into an opportunity. From there, the hope is they will convert or transition into a true client and continue to interact with your company, continue to make purchases, and be part of your business cycle. And then at some point they'll either remain as a client for many years, which of course is everybody's goal, or they will transition out of your database either through inattention or through opt-out. So what we're doing here is using the marketing tools available to help you nurture people through the life cycle so that they become meaningful and profitable business contacts for you. Go ahead, Allison. Oh, sorry, back up one more notch. Sorry. Today, the insights, sorry, let me back up. From the contact lifecycle, we have some tools that we've built in OpenField to help you through this process. And those are the next screenshots that I wanted to take a look at. Go ahead, Allison. So this is just a quick example of what the process looks like in OpenField. Allison's going to go into more detail when we go through this, but basically it takes you from a registration linked to a sign-up form and to the subsequent messages and forms that you can share with your contacts. Some of the opportunities for using this, we use drag and drop tools and different landing page assembly tools to make this process very user-friendly for you and your clients. And some of the things this can be used for, go ahead, Allison. We can use this to help you provide white papers and downloads for your customers. We can use it. You can use it for requests for information. Maybe to get a phone call that gets processed with an alert internally. You can use it to respond to information for pricing. You can use it for demo requests if you're selling that kind of a product, or even if you're selling software or software as a service, you can offer evaluation software through this, or maybe even a trial period for your customers. So there's lots of opportunities in terms of how you can present enticing content to help move your customers through that life cycle with you. Now along the way you're going to pick up information and insights on your customers. So a while back our CEO did an analogy on a store, bricks and mortar store that is, and how the proprietors and the staff often get to know their customers coming in. Today, what we know about clients often comes from digital activities that we can store either as part of the contact profile or relationally, as part of a lead generation process. Allison Flero is a specialist in relational marketing with us, and she's going to show you some strategies on how you can use these relational tools to gather information on your contacts. So with that, I'll turn it over to Allison, and we'll get a little bit more specific on how this works in the platform.
Thanks, John. So like John said, these are lead generation forms. So we're going to look at how to configure them in the Dialog Insight platform and how to use them in the application. First, let's take a look at the structure of the lead generation form here. All these lead generation forms use the same structure as the contact profile. So the first table that you see on the left is the list of fields that are available in the project. And the requests are stored beside the contact. So one contact could make multiple requests for information, and we would have all the history of each request saved in the contact's profile. And because it's connected in the profile, we can then create groups and find contacts that have submitted a request for information, among other things that we will discuss later. So like I was saying, all of these forms use the same structure as your contact's profile. So if we go to Configuration and Project, these are the fields that will be available to use on the form. If there's a field that you planned on using but it isn't listed in the project because you may have not decided to collect the information in the past, then you will need to create the field. And it's as easy as clicking on Add a Field and then filling out the custom information here. And the input format can be defined later on. Okay, so now let's take a look at how we set up the form. We go to Workflows, Other Forms, and Lead Generation. I have a couple of forms in my list here. We're going to look at a file download form where people fill out the form to download a white paper, for example, and I also have an information request form. In this case, we don't offer a link to download anything. We just register the contact and confirm internally that someone made the request so that we can do a follow-up.
And this process, sorry, yep, I'm off mute. This process is an unlimited forms process as well. So you can create as many of these opt-in forms or landing pages associated with lead generation as you like. There's also an opportunity where you can use the form tools to present subsequent sign-up or profile extension strategies to gather more information on your clients. So as an unlimited lead generation tool, this can be very powerful. Going forward, if you need to talk to your Dialog Insight account manager, we'd be happy to discuss specific strategies for any one of you on how you could use these tools in your project.
Right. So let's take a look at the file download form. There are a couple of things that need to be configured in the form: the visual, the fields we want the contact to complete, and the confirmation emails. The first point or first stop in the workflow is the registration link that leads to the form, and then the confirmation page once they hit submit. We can also send a confirmation message to the person that submits the form, as well as a confirmation email to the user in the project, or to a user in the project, to let them know that someone has completed the form. So the first thing to do is to click on the form page. That brings us into the editor. And if you're already familiar with our drag and drop messages, this page works in the same way. You can drag content element blocks over to the right and drop them into place. You can see there's an image block, there's text blocks, there's a title block, and a separator block that can all be used to design your page. And you can also edit the styles and colors. So all of these can be defined on your page. On my page, I put a title, I put a logo, I put our title, I put some text, and the form. And on the left side of the form, I put an image. Now, once the layout is complete, you need to define which fields you want the contact to complete. So to select the fields that are displayed here, I go up to Form Configuration. And I'm going to skip over these options at the top, but I will come back to them. So let's start with the fields. You can add the fields you want. The possible fields, like I said, are the ones that are available in your project. So when you click on Add a Field, if the field you want to add is not available in your drop-down menu, then you have to go back to Configuration and Project and add it first. Now in my form, I'm asking for first name, last name, email, language, postal code, and newsletter. And by clicking on Edit, I'm going to click on the pencil. You can see everything that I need to define. So it's telling me the field name. I can change the label that appears on the form. So I want it to say postal code, and I can also add a description. This one is basically telling the people how I want them to input the postal code. Same thing for my newsletter. So I've changed the label to say I would like to subscribe to the Dialog Insight newsletter. So that's just a little reminder. Don't forget, as you're making these forms, to also ask people to opt into your emails. So once the fields are defined, we need to decide how the platform is going to manage the data. And that brings us back up to the top here. When the contact hits submit, do we want the profile's empty fields? So complete the profile. The profile's empty fields will be filled with the registration data. For update the profile, we're going to replace profile data with the registration data. And then ignore changes. The contact will be registered, but the related profile will not be updated with what they added in the form. Your decision on which one to choose will depend on the source of the information you already have in your database. This will help you choose the impact that the form will have on the data already in there. If you're not sure that the information in your database is up to date, then select the Update Profile option, because it's more likely that the contact will provide accurate or more up-to-date info to access the download. And then the last option here is the Google CAPTCHA. And Google CAPTCHA confirms that the person filling out the form is not a robot that's auto-completing forms on the web. Okay, so I'm all done here. So let's go back to Edit. I've defined my fields and I've set up the visual. So from here I can edit my confirmation page. I'm just going to click on confirmation page. And you can see that the visual I set up on the form is carried over. So really all I have to do is edit the text that's going to be on my confirmation page. So I'm going to go back to Edit. So after that, I can decide if I want to send a confirmation message to the contact. If I do, all I have to do is put a check in this box and click on the envelope to edit the message. So I added the information with a button to download the content right in the email. You can see that right here. I could have put that link on the confirmation page too. It's up to you to decide if you want it on the confirmation page or in the message or both. It's up to you to decide. And then I'm going to go back to Edit again. The last thing is, do I want to send a message to an administrator once someone submits the form? So in my case I do. I clicked on the check and now I just click on this person and I add a user. So it has to be a user in your open field project. Okay, so now that everything's defined, I can publish my form. I've already published it. You can see here it says unpublish. If I do make changes, it will ask me to update the form and publish again. So once you publish, you receive a link, and this link can be added to an email that I'm sending to a contact. It can be added to my web page so that people access the form. Essentially, it's the registration link. And I just want to point out that this project uses a personalized URL or a CNAME. Excuse me. You can see that because it says communications.dialoginsight.com. If we weren't using a personalized URL, it would just say offsys.com. All right, so my form is now in place and people have been using it to download the content. So I can take a look at the reports. So up here at the top, I'm going to click on Reports. In the Reports section, we see a graph that shows the evolution of the use of the form. And then the same thing right below it for the use per day. And then at the bottom, we have pie charts here. The first one shows the difference between existing contacts and new contacts. So contacts that were already in my database that use the form and contacts that weren't in my database before and used the form. And then on the right, if you have the consent center turned on, you can see in this case it's consent for the newsletter, so people who have subscribed to my newsletter. You can see in dark gray, not acquired, so how many people filled out the form but did not subscribe. In green, how many are new contacts that subscribed. In blue, how many were in the database but not subscribed and then decided to subscribe when they filled out this form. And then light gray, how many were already subscribed. We also have the inquiries page. So up here at the top, I'm going to click on inquiries. Now, the inquiries section displays a list of contacts that completed the form. And if we double click on one, it'll bring us to the contact's profile. Sorry, did you have something you wanted to add there, John?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. I was actually following the script anyway. The information from the lead generation forms is stored in the reports section, as Allison showed you, but it's available in your entire project as well. So all of this information is appended directly in the contact section. And because it's appended to the contact section, it's available for many other things like creating groups, doing searches, and even initiating marketing automation sequences. So based on the changes or the additions or the new information or the fact that somebody downloaded your white paper, you can start to use that to personalize, to initiate messages and to personalize those messages when sending them out to your contacts. In this way, your communications can become, very personal. If you know what kind of documents or white papers people are interested in, that can help you decide how to talk to them going forward. So the other thing we can do is we can set up scoring. Now, Allison and I did a presentation on scoring a little while ago, but it's probably worthwhile taking a look at this on how you can take your leads, use their digital activities to assign values to them, and then rank them so that you're focusing in on the most important leads to your business.
That's right. So we'll take a look at score as well. So in the contacts profile, I'm just going to show you where you can see that information that they filled out the form. We go to relational data and then find the lead generation form. And then we can see the list of all the forms that they've completed. So I'll open this one here, the white paper tricks for an effective newsletter. So in this instance, we can see the form name, the type, and when they've completed it. And you can see the type here in this case is download. This will come into play when I'm making my groups in a minute. So now that we see where it is, I'm going to go into contacts and groups. And find my lead generation form groups that I made. My first group is finding contacts who downloaded the white paper, Tips for an Effective Newsletter. So all I did was I grabbed the relational data option and dragged it over to the right. So in the table lead generation that's connected to the contacts profile, I want to find contacts who submitted the form, and I'm going by form name. There are other options. The form white paper, Tricks for an Effective Newsletter. And on top of that, I also added a criteria about when they did it. So in this case, I want to find contacts that submitted the form on or after February 8th. And again, there are other operators, so I can say between such and such date. So I have 14 contacts available in my group. Going back, my next group is contacts who have completed a download form. So again, I pulled the relational data over to the right, and I said in the table lead generation, for the field type, the value download. So remember when we were looking in the profile, the type said download. Well, all of the different values are listed in our online help so that you know what value to add here. So I'm looking for anyone who used the type download. And then my last group, contacts who have completed an information request form on my website. All right, so I've still pulled over the relational data. In this case, it's looking in the lead generation form, but I'm going for a different form name. I want to find people who filled out the information request form on my website. So this is what I named the form. And again, I also added criteria for the date. So you can see I have 12 contacts available. So now let's take a look at score like John was explaining. So I'm going to Configuration, Contacts, and Score. We can attribute points for certain things that will allow you to identify contact engagement. All you have to do, just like making a group, you drag your criteria over from the left and drop it in the right. So in this case, for anyone who has opted into our newsletter, so status of subscribed, I want to give them 10 points. Or if they've opted in to receive our product information emails, they're also going to get 10 points. And then for my download form, using my group, I want to say anyone who is in my group who has downloaded the white paper will get 5 points. So for a possible total of 15 points. Once I've defined my criteria, I click on Continue. And then I have to decide how I want it to display in the contacts profile, with stars up to 5 stars, thumbs up, thumbs down, or the actual numeric value. I've decided I want it to be displayed as stars, so I have to specify the number of points required for each star. So I have 1 star is 3 points, 2 stars 6 points, all the way up to 5 stars is 15 points. So I'm going to click on Continue again. And I need to calculate this score before it shows up in the contacts profile. I've set it up so that it automatically does the calculation for me. So it's going to calculate every Monday at midnight. Or if I've changed some of my criteria, I can click on Recalculate. And then if for some reason there's an anomaly in the calculation, we can send an alert to a user that's in the project as well. So I'm not going to actually calculate because I know that it's calculating automatically for me and I haven't updated my score. So let's go back to groups one more time and we'll take a look at how score works in there. Oops. There we go. Okay, so my criteria is score, so I dragged it over to the right. And let's say I have contacts that only have one star. I'm going to click on Save. I have 7 contacts available. I can also say contacts with 3 stars. Now I have 140 contacts available. And that's a lot of contacts. So let's see who my most engaged contacts are. I have contacts with 5 stars as well. So it brings it down to 27 contacts. So these are my most engaged contacts. I'm just going to go in and show you where score is displayed in the profile. Okay, so the score is displayed in the profile up at the top here under the contact's name and email address. You can see 5 stars here. All right, so this wraps up our presentation. I'm just going to check and see if we have any questions. Feel free to write your questions in the question box.
You could actually feel free to contact either Allison and I or your account manager with any specific questions as well. We'd be happy to help you going forward with this. I do want to thank you for your time this afternoon. You know, we are very pleased to be working with all of you, and we look forward to hearing from you about lead generation or any other aspect of working with our marketing platform. My name is John Martin, and that was Allison Flero doing most of the heavy lifting this afternoon. And thank you very much. I hope everybody has a very good day.